Yo, what's the deal? What's going on? Welcome here to the inaugural episode of the Who Asked Y'all To podcast, featuring your boys, Chris Porterr, my good brother M.Dot on the other side here. We're going to be giving it to y'all on a unfiltered, unsolicited basis. Nobody asked us for these opinions. Nobody hit us up asking what we thought about it. This is just me and my brother coming here talking our stuff on a wide range of things. So we are here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to the inaugural episode. Again, welcome to the Who Asked Y'all To podcast. Me and my brother M.Dot. Got anything for the people, bro?
Yeah, so today is gonna be a fun-packed episode. We got a lot of things we're gonna cover, from sports to relationship things, and then just into current events, talking about things that are occurring right now in society. So we got a lot of things we're gonna talk about. So we're gonna hop right into it. So we got 3 current events we want to kind of discuss. We're gonna kind of go through. But the first one is, it's heard around the world. The Achilles that was torn around the world. Aaron Rodgers, after the first set of drives in last week's game, tore his Achilles. Now, if everybody knows about sports injuries, that's one of the worst sports injuries and one of the hardest to recover from. So, we're gonna put it up in the air. I'm gonna ask my brother Chris, how do you feel about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets' chances of succeeding and actually being a team of how they were in the past? Let's go back 2009 when they were good, right? With Matt Sanchez and Darrelle Revis and Rex Ryan. With this injury to Aaron Rodgers, would they be able to continue?
Oh, that's a great question. In my personal opinion, so continue is relative, right? I think based off of the pieces that they have in place, I don't think that they're all of a sudden about to like fall flat on their face. But obviously being professional football, everything is dependent on the quarterback position, and we
Right.
can't even really pretend that it's not. That was the whole point of them going and getting A-Rod in the first place was, trying to solidify that position as the last piece to get them over the hill. So I don't think that they're going to fall flat on their face because I still think that they have a great defense. I think they got pretty good skill position players. They got a great run game. Problem is who's going to be starting at quarterback for them. And obviously, options probably are limited in terms of who's available in the open market, who might be available for trades. And so then that obviously just leaves who's in place right now with Zack Wilson. And so it's all going to be dependent on his growth at that position right now. Obviously, they kind of made it clear that for the time being, he'll be the starter. And they may visit other options down the line. But with him being the starter right now, I do think that it's going to be tough. I think they got y'all this week, right? They got the Cowboys this week.
I
I'm pretty
believe
sure.
so. I believe so.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be tough for them. That itself is going to be a tough matchup. I'm not expecting the Jets to come out on top in that matchup, but if Zach can show something, then maybe they can. I think their expectation was Super Bowl this year. So just to answer your question, I think the Super Bowl is probably far-fetched for them, but maybe Zach can show something over the course of the season because he'll have a full, 16 games at this point, 16 and a half games to try and show something. So, we'll see. We'll see.
And I kind of agree with you. Their expectations were high for the Super Bowl because right now at a week 1, we kind of seen like who in that AFC is going to come out on top. Buffalo didn't look too great when it came to how they performed and how they strategized, and with their defense being one of the top in the league last year, being like under the like bottom 15th of the league. So I think with the Jets, it's tough, man. I mean, there's already names going out there of who they can recruit as quarterback. I mean, Colin Kaepernick, Cam Newton, Carson Wentz. There's a slew of names out there, but it's like who's gonna fit that system? Who's gonna be someone that Matt Saleh is the head coach, right? Saleh?
Robert Sala. Robert
Robert
Sala.
Saleh. Who is Robert Saleh gonna be able to count on to be the quarterback that he needs for that team to come in, lead the troops, and actually be efficient? Because I think with Zack Wilson in place right now, I think he just needs. All right, we won that one game, won last week's game, which nobody expected them to win after Aaron Rodgers went down in the first. Nobody. I don't even think anybody knew. Anybody thought, oh, shit's over. But Zack Wilson carried them and they won the game. Now,
100%.
against my Cowboys, I mean, I'm gonna keep it 100,000. Like they're not winning, and that's just only way. The only way they will win is if the defense doesn't perform at the same value that they did last week against the Giants. That's like the only way I kind of see. If the Cowboys defense does not come out full blaze, pressure on the quarterback, tight effective pass rush and effective coverage, then I think it's gonna be a good game for the Cowboys. But if the Cowboys come out and the offense does horrible, Dak goes in, throws an interception, gets sacked, holds the ball too long, the running game is not being effective, then the Jets have a chance. Because the Cowboys are a team of, if the running game goes well, the Cowboys do well. It's facts. If you look at the Cowboys from anywhere from when they've had big time running backs or running backs that were effective, DeMarco Murray, Ezekiel Elliott, Julia Jones, Marion Barber, they've always had kind of that 1-2 punch of we'll run the ball first, then pass second. It's always been the Cowboys, or it's always been a 50-50. It's never been a pass heavy. I mean, you could say with Tony Romo, it was a little bit more pass heavy because he had a lot of more options. But with Dak, he has a lot of options, but I don't think he's that guy to just rely completely on just passing the ball. You don't look at Dak
Right.
and say, all right, I need 400 yards from you. This is not how he's not. But I don't want this to turn into a Cowboys level affair here because it will. I can go all day on my guy. But if they trust in Zack Wilson, they already won game one without, unbeknownst to them, that he was going to carry them to the victory line. Trust in him this week, give him a lot of responsibility, allow him to develop, allow him to make a mistake. That's number one. If you allow him to make mistakes and you coach him on that, he'll progress a lot better. Instead of like, he sucks, he's this, he's that. That's not really going to benefit your team. So I think if they allow him and trust in him, then they can kind of see like, all right, we may have something here. But working out Colin Kaepernick, like, come on, bro. Like, bro, come on. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
no, I'm not a fan of that. I don't view that as anything but cloud chasing. Truth be
Yeah,
told, it's been how long at this point?
7 years, bro. 7 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's. And again, I don't want to take anything away from anybody's dreams or anything like that. But
Bro, it's
let's be
over.
real. You gotta think realistically in terms of, you know, even if you don't, take nothing away from Colin Kaepernick, whatever he stands for, his views and things like that. Just what will benefit this team the most? What will help this team the most? Like,
But bro, it's not even like we're not even talking about his view. He already got paid out by the NFL. He settled. So that's already
right,
been taken care of him not being able to get back in the league because they kind of held him back because of his viewpoints. That's already been taken care of. That should not even be a thought anymore. Like if you want to play
right.
football, cool. But bro, 7 years? Come on, my guy.
7 years.
What is he? He's 35, 36. You're gonna want a quarterback past his prime that was once took his team to the Super Bowl. They lost. Had an okay year in the Dolphins his last year. But I mean, come on, give it up, give it up. Now the other guys like Carson Wentz, very injury prone. Is a guy that was once almost MVP. Did he get MVP that year?
No, he
Almost,
didn't get
right?
MVP that year, but he was favored before he got injured.
Yeah, so he threw over 40 touchdowns, less than, I want to say, 15 interception. He had a great year that year. It was the 2016, 2017 year, right?
17,
So
17, yeah.
I think if he can get to half as that, he could be a good backup to Zack Wilson. I don't know if he'll be the front runner, but I think he can be a good backup. He can come in with some wisdom, some veteran experience, be able to coach him, get him to where he needs to be. I think that's what they need to do. I think the Jets, in my opinion, they need to bring a veteran in that's willing to take a back seat. And if, God forbid, Zack Wilson gets injured, they can come in and start and win a few games, at least try to get them above 500, try to get them to playoff contention. Because right now, I mean, there's nobody in the AFC that I can say with 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 confidence that I can say, oh, they're going to the Super Bowl. Like there's nobody I can say that's doing that. Nobody.
Yeah, nah. I don't. I think the teams that we maybe would have thought would have come out the gate on fire. I mean, and granted, it's week one, so
We
it's
won.
you gotta take things with a grain of salt. Most of these starters didn't play in preseason and everything, so it's hard to judge off of 1 week. But it is obviously wide open. You would hate for their season to just be completely like destroyed after one series of play. So hopefully they can build off of what they did in week one because ultimately they did still win that game, which is a
Yeah, a win is a
positive for
win.
them.
A win is a win. A win is a win.
So you got to take that. You got to be appreciative of that, and like I said, hopefully they can build off of that. Like you said, I think they're going to have to bring somebody in ultimately, regardless
Yeah.
whether or not they end up playing or whether or not they just end up backing up Zach. So um, they got to be realistic with that type of stuff, though.
Yeah.
I don't think that Carson is a bad idea. I think that there are other options out there, though, and there'll probably be some dudes that become available via trade as well.
Yeah.
Even if you want to look at people like Gardner Minshew down in Indy,
Oh, there you
it's
go.
not a bad option. It's not a bad option, and
No.
it's probably going to be low cost in
Oh,
terms
he
of
used
what
to
you
be
got
on
to
the
give up to
Eagles.
get him. Yeah, he was on the
Yeah, he was
Eagles
the
too.
backup.
Yep.
He was on the. He was the backup for the Eagles for a
Uh-huh.
long time. So,
Yep. So there,
so
there there are options out there. I think they just got to be smart and they got to be patient too. You don't want to rush it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So take your
yeah,
time. Give Zach a chance because listen, he's going to look bad against the Cowboys. It's kind of like
yeah, yeah.
their defense is just
I
too
mean,
too elite.
I mean,
And it's I don't think he's prepared enough at this point. But give him a couple weeks, see what he's got, and go from there.
all right, perfect, perfect. All right, so we're gonna pivot. We're gonna switch sports real quick. We're gonna go into, Team USA. We're gonna go talk about,
Oh yeah,
they're losing right now. They're not the top in regards to international basketball right now. So it kind of brings me to like that comment that track star made. I think his name was like Noah Lewis or
I
the
think it was
guy
Noah Lyles, something
Noah
like that.
Lyles. He made the comment like, you know, I don't know how the NBA they can call themselves like world champions when it's like they're not playing international competition. So how can you call yourself world champion? Now the comment resonates a little bit. It hits a little bit harder now because
It
you can
does.
see they're losing, and the National Basketball Association is supposed to be the top talent, but it's like they're not the USA basketball team is not the team of the past with the Kobe Bryants, the Carmelo Anthony's, the Wades, the LeBrons, the Jason Kidds, the Steve Nashes. Oh wait, Steve Nash was a Canada, but like the Chris Pauls. They're not the team of
Yeah,
that 2007 2008 team where they called them the Redeem team because they still had that shadow of the 92 Dream team where it's like
yeah,
they were losing, they weren't good those years following, but they ended up
right.
getting better because they made a stand and they had world class talent that year. Now you look at the roster. Now I'm gonna name a few names here.
Please do,
Uh,
please.
Paulo Banchero,
Uh-uh.
Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson Jr., Cam Johnson, Walker Kessler, Bobby Portis, Austin Reeves. So out of those names, like who comes to you as a top NBA star currently? Who comes to you as a top NBA star?
I mean, I like Ant. I like Ant Man a lot. I like Jalen Brunson a lot. Um, I like Halliburton a lot. I mean, listen, star potential wise, star wise, I don't. I think they're lacking a lot. I think they're lacking a lot. Yeah, I mean, when you think about the stars of the NBA or the stars of our basketball in our country, I don't think that any of those names necessarily jump off the page as people who I would, pay to go see or line up um, to go watch play.
No,
Unfortunately, and so that's where you find yourself at this point where you got to start looking back to the stars of yesteryear with LeBron, Steph Curry, to start looking for some type of star power, some type of world-class athleticism and skill to start matching up with these international players, it's the roster is lacking a lot. It's
And
lacking
then
a lot.
I'm gonna read you the 2008 roster, right?
Okay.
So LeBron James, Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Dwight Howard, Chris Bosh, Carlos Boozer, Darren Williams, Jason Kidd, and Tashawn Prince. I think 90% of that is Hall of Famers. Like that's not even we don't even
At
have to
least
debate that.
all-star level players though. Like I
All
mean,
star, all
at
star,
bare minimum, all-star level
all
players.
star level players. So a big difference from 2008 to 2023. And I know like a lot of the guys kind of opt out. They don't want to play like Steph Curry. They already played already. Steph Curry, KD, the James Harden, Russell Wilsons. You know those guys. They were really like, I already I already put my chips in the bag already. And that's my summer. I want to take off. I want to be with my family. I get it, but don't get mad when people make comments like Noah Lyles saying that what world champions are you guys? You guys are losing to uh international teams. You're supposed to be the best talent
Yeah.
that can find. And then you look at the international players that play in the NBA, like the Jokers, the Giannis, the Joel Embiid's, the Luka Doncic. And
Luca, yeah.
like these guys are top ranked talent.
Yeah.
And you can only imagine when these guys say, like Luka Doncic said one time, he said playing in Europe is a lot harder than playing in America, because
Really?
yeah, he said it's a lot harder for him in America. It's a lot easier for him to play basketball because of
Mm.
the talent, and because of the rules. It's a little bit different international ball. So I think what the U.S. can do to kind of switch it around, like you said, call on some of that talent, change up your strategy, because you can't be losing to these teams and then still think you're the best team in the world. It just doesn't work like that. You got teams. Spain always had a good team.
Yeah.
France always had a
France,
good team. Lithuania, you know what I mean?
Lithuania,
Like
Argentina.
Argentina, like these guys are not bums. Like in comparison to popular opinion, they're not bums. They're good. They're amazing players. So I think USA definitely has to call on some veterans to come in and kind of, even if it's just like coming in and coming off the bench, like something to create a spark. Because I know you got to look into the new generation to come in and take the mantle, but you don't have John Moran on there. You don't like the only person I see that's like, oh wow, like Anthony Edwards, Brandon Ingram. I don't know any of the other guys.
Nah.
I'm gonna keep it a bean. So I think, and that's just me because maybe I don't watch enough basketball, but even still, like you know who the top players are. Even if you don't watch the sport, you know who the top players are. So
Right.
that's my spin on that. That's my take on that.
Nah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. Just more star power there. I mean, it's like I said, it's lacking a lot. Even if you know some of these names, because as a basketball guy, I
Yeah,
definitely recognize the names. Like I said, they just don't jump off the page. They don't not on the world stage. To Noah Lyles' point is that if you're gonna call yourself a world champion, um, you want to be putting the best talent on display. And
exactly.
I think Team USA is kind of going away from that, like you said, to a little bit more younger talent. And
Yeah,
all due respect to these dudes, I'm sure they'll get there at some point. Maybe give them a couple years. I'm sure they may be the faces of the NBA. Like I
right.
said, there's a lot of talent on here with Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges. Those are young studs, but I just don't think that to be representing the country, and to be trying to go for world dominance per se, it doesn't. They need more stars, man. And
Yeah, man.
hey,
Like
listen,
this,
call them dudes, call them
there's
dudes.
so many guys I can name that should be on that team. Kawhi Leonard, if he's not injured, Paul George, Anthony Davis,
Yeah,
if he's not injured, Russell Wilson, Chris Paul. There's so many guys I can kind of name and be like, yo, you need to put these guys on there, even though they're veterans. You know they've been in the
you
league.
keep saying you mean Russell Westbrook?
Russell Westbrook. Who did I say? What did I say?
Russell Wilson. We're
Yeah.
gonna get to him.
All right. So we gonna pivot. Let's pivot to our last current event. And this is a more somber topic. 9/11. Um, Something that kind of shocked this nation as a whole, and then brought us together, um, more together as a country than we are now. We are very divided. There's a lot of racial and social class issues that kind of divide us. So I just want to put it out there. Where do you remember 9/11, bro? Like, is that something like, do you, like, people always say, I remember where I was. Like, do you remember like the teacher coming in telling you, yo, no school, we gotta end it early? Like, how do you remember it?
9/11. So just a cool little quick disclaimer. For those that know me, y'all know, but my birthday is September 11th. So
Oh yeah.
for me, for me, I remember, it being a normal day, waking up anyway, as far as, it being my birthday, going to school. For some reason, I'm blanking on the grade that I was in, but I remember having to go to school that day. And then I do remember school abruptly ending. So we
Yeah.
did get the notice like, hey, school is over today. It's an emergency. You're going to get a ride home. You're getting picked up from school. And usually at this time, we was catching the school bus and stuff. So
Right.
I wasn't used to getting picked up, And so I remember getting picked up from school, riding home from school, and just, being so unaware. Like I had no clue what was going on. You know what I mean? And it just, in hindsight as an adult, you become more conscious of what's happening, so you get more information. You start to, be able to process things a little bit more. But as a kid, as a child at that time, it just seemed like it just seemed like one of those days. It just seemed like, oh, we're leaving school early today, you know?
I agree with you, bro. I think when I for my day, I remember it was third grade. I'm in class, and this is like a month or two. I moved here from New York, and
Hmm.
I'm in class. Teacher comes in, she's like, "Yeah, we gotta end school early. Something's happened. I think the buses came and picked us up and dropped us off. And then I remember being home, and my mom and them had the TV on, and it was just, you could see like CNN, you could see like the smoke from the Twin Towers. You could see like everybody is just in shock. Like I think my dad was home, or he must have been at work, but my mom was there. Everybody was just in shock because they were like, what is happening? What is going on?" So I think in that on that day, I remember it like you said, like being in school and then it ending, going home. But then I remember very, very vaguely of everybody being in shock. Like, oh my God,
Right,
what is happening? Like, what just happened? And I think because we still had people that lived in New York and lived in
right,
the city too, everybody was scared. Everybody was nervous. My mom was scared. I was nervous to see like, yo, what's going on? Like, what happened? Like, is everybody okay? Is our family okay? People we know okay? And I think that kind of set in like, oh my God, what's going on? What's happening in America? Um, yeah, it was a very if it was a very short day, but also a day with shock, and it was shock, and it was
how did
shock.
it affect you guys being native New Yorkers, having to experience that? Even if you, weren't there per se, having family
Yeah,
there, how did that affect you guys?
I think my mom and them, them being immigrants coming to this country, and then the port of entry is always New York City. That's like when if you come into New York City, you come into New York City, especially for Haitians. It's either you come into New York City, Miami, Florida, or Chicago. That's like the three biggest hubs when it comes to like or Canada, but that's another country. So I think
Right.
my mom and them, they remember like going into the city when they were young, because we're from, Spring Valley, Rockland County. That's about 40 minutes away from Manhattan. So it's outside of the
Okay.
city. So they remember like going into the city when they were young, going and having fun and things like that, going into the towns, going into Manhattan. So to them, they're like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And they know people that still work in New York City. Like that was the thing. You live outside of New York City, but you did work there. You either worked in New York City, you worked in Connecticut, or you worked in New Jersey. Because where we lived at, literally, Connecticut was right there, New Jersey was right there, and New York City was right there. So everything was within reach where we lived at. We was like in the center. So yeah, bro, I think it affected them very hard because I don't think they ever thought something like that would happen. Coming from Haiti, moving to America, like a terrorist attack would happen to a place they frequently visited and they were from. It kind of, I think it was a big shock to them.
Yeah, man, it's definitely changed the course of history for sure.
Oh,
Like you
a hundred
said, at
percent,
that
a hundred
time, it
percent.
100% made the country a lot more united and
Yeah.
together, which we probably could use a lot of today. Not
Oh
that we
yeah.
want to, lean on a terrorist attack for that, but definitely could use a lot of that unity today. Whereas we seem to find it in some of our most desperate times at that point in time. Um, like I said, it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot in terms of the way we travel, the way we interact with one another, how we deal with um, potential conflicts or um, potential terrorism and things of that nature. You've seen how the country has adjusted and adapted to the the prospect of that. And so years later to reflect on it and to see how it's impacted the world, not just our country but the world,
Yeah.
is profound in a lot of ways, man, for sure.
So let me ask you this: do you believe like, and I'm not, I'm gonna throw it out. Do you believe this plot was carried out by Osama bin Laden? Do you believe that whatever the government told us what happened is the accurate story, or are you kind of a little bit like, I don't know if I believe that 100%? What's your thoughts on that?
So I tried to look into that a lot last night, right? Just to try and refresh anything that I might like, any skepticism or anything that I might have had. And so for me personally, I guess, maybe being a little bit of a puppet or a little bit of a sponge, I've always just naturally gone with with the uh
The narrative.
the narrative, exactly, that Osama had, especially being as though he took credit for it, I should say. Because he was the person who, I guess kind of raised his hand to say that he was responsible. That was just enough for me.
Yeah, I don't know,
What
bro.
about you?
I'm real skeptical because there's a lot of ties between like the Bin Ladens and the Bushes, right? And when it comes to oil,
Okay.
Bin Laden didn't come from a poor background, bro. He came from a wealthy family. His
No.
family, his father was like one of the biggest guys in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. So
Yeah.
I think, and then when you look at the oil ties, right? Like the Bushes were big in oil, like they have ties there. When you look at, I want to say in the 1980s ish, the George Bush Senior funded a lot of a mercenary, I don't want to say mercenary, but little wars that Osama bin Laden had take place in. So you can kind of say the U.S. kind of funded him in the beginning with that when it came to like supporting him and his values and his efforts earlier in that stage. And then it's like he still had that going into what kind of took place on 9/11. He still had um those weapons and all that stuff. So you can kind of say that. And then you look at it from like how we got into the war. Like, have you ever seen the movie Vice?
No.
So Vice is a good movie to watch. It's a movie by I think Oliver Stone. It's about Dick Cheney being the vice president. And
Okay.
people don't know a lot about Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney tried to be president a lot, was in politics when he was young. Very smart individual, but he definitely was he pulled a lot of strings when it came to like the security intel and the security the intelligence agency, so to speak, right? So a
Okay.
lot of it was when it came to, oh, we need to go invade Iraq, and then it's like, Iraq, that's not where Osama is. We need to go get Saddam Hussein because he might have massive weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
That was all based off of. They say now the intel was maybe believable, but everybody knows the intel was not correct because Saddam and Osama didn't have a connection. There was no connection between the two. So Dick Cheney did that because he had ties in the Halliburton group. The Halliburton group funded a lot of the weapons and a lot of things which made him rich because of the war. So it's a lot of things I look at and I'm very skeptical behind it because a lot of wars in this country aren't always started in truth.
Right.
They're always started with a with a little lie or something where it's not, yeah, that maybe we should get into this war, but we have ulterior motives as to why we're getting into this war. It's never always, we even look at the Russian Ukraine war. Like I was watching Candace Owens yesterday and she was talking about that. And she was saying, like, if we would just form have a respectable relationship with Putin and almost have somewhat of an alliance with him, we would not be jeopardizing by sending all this money to Ukraine to fund that war. That war has nothing to do with this. And it has nothing to do with this. Nothing
Right.
whatsoever. None of that. And then we're pushing Ukraine into the arms of NATO, when we promised, like, hey, we're not going to force these countries to be in NATO, but we're forcing Ukraine to be in NATO, which is causing issues because Putin doesn't want NATO on his side. He doesn't want NATO on his axis. He doesn't want NATO in his area. He doesn't have anything to do with NATO. So we're making it worse by doing that. So I don't know. I'm skeptical with it, bro. I'm skeptical. A lot of things just don't make sense when it comes to the if you look at the Warren Commission report. Um, like where's the and there's no footage of when it hit the Pentagon, like the plane hit the Pentagon. Where's the footage on that? The Pentagon is one of the most secure facilities in the world.
Right.
Where's the footage on that?
Why is there no footage?
Yeah, like I don't understand. The day before that, there's reports of the the Department of Treasury losing like several billion or a couple
So
trillion
let me
dollars.
ask you,
Like what it was.
if there's ties between the Bushes and Osama bin Laden, does that make you look at his presidency differently, or does that make you question
No,
the way you view his presidency differently?
no, I think I can say like with the Al Gore one, right? Like when he ran in 2000, like that vote came down to like for popular vote, that vote came down to like it was like 400 or 6,000 votes where it could have swung the other way. It could have went in Al Gore's favor.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I mean, was George Bush a bad? I don't think George Bush was a bad president. I just think that during that time, he had a lot of people in his ear that kind of manipulated him to do certain things where I think he probably wouldn't have done that because I've seen him in act in public, like not public, but in on TV and stuff like that. And I don't really think he was a bad. I don't think he was a racist president. I don't think he was a evil president. I just think that he listened to a lot of other individuals that kind of put us in a war that we probably didn't have to be in. I just think that, and it cost us a lot of money, especially with the debt. Our debt went up a lot. We have so much
Right.
money. We have so much money that we put into our military every year that it's insane.
Right.
We have military bases all over the country, and that was something that was started because of like World War II. We want to be everywhere. Something happens, but it's like it's not that era no more. So
Right.
why would we have a military base in Spain? Why would we have military bases in Africa? Why do we have military bases in on Cuba and Guatemala? Why like those are not necessary in my opinion with all those military bases. This is a waste of money and resources. But I mean that's the part of foreign policy. I don't know. I don't know.
100%. No, I mean, listen, to me, if a sitting president may have had ulterior motives um behind possibly getting us into a potential world war, even though obviously the war in Iraq didn't ultimately become that, but just any sort of ulterior motive behind that, aside from just world peace or just the conflict itself being what it was in terms of Osama bin Laden issuing a jihad against the United States, then um, yeah, no, I have some strong, I guess, hindsight views in terms of what I may have felt about his presidency. And granted,
Yeah.
I'm still learning about these things every day. I look into these things more and more daily, but it don't sit right at all for me
Yeah.
personally. You know,
No,
it don't sit right.
I agree with you, bro. And I think like I think everything the government tells you, you got to be skeptical behind it.
Definitely,
You don't want to trust everything they tell you, right? Because
100%.
the government is not was never built to be someone that is, oh, we're gonna tell you what to do, how to do it. The government's here for us. We pay their salary. They do what's in the best interest of the people, not of themselves. So people have to
Right,
realize that like the government shouldn't have any self-interest in these wars, or shouldn't have. It should be what's good for America at this time is sending Ukraine over $120 billion good for America.
right.
No, because what does that do? You just had devastation in Maui where there was a forest fire that decimated a whole area, and then you promise as a president, I'm going to send everybody $700. That's Hawaii is one of the most expensive states in the country. What it like that doesn't make sense to me. Or we can even go back further. Flint, Michigan, when they had corrosive pipes, and the estimated value to fix the water and all that was going to cost a couple $1 billion. That never happened. They still have messed up. They still have they don't. They still their pipes are still broken. So why didn't the
Right.
government step in and fix that? And I get it. People might say, "Oh, that's not a national issue. That's a Michigan issue." Well, yeah, the state of Michigan needs to ask the government more money to assist them, because you can't have your people in that state, in that city, drinking corrosive water.
Hell no.
You know what I mean?
Hell no.
And then you have Obama going to Flint, Michigan. It's going to the people and saying this water is safe. I'm gonna take a sip, and he takes a fake ass sip, convincing the people to drink poisonous water. So I think a lot of it, bro. Like if me and you was president, it's easy to say, yo, how we would do it in these situations, but we don't know what really goes on in those back doors. We don't know what the conversations are had.
No,
So,
I agree with that.
like, to me, just like Warren Buffett said, he said, I can end the deficit in 5 minutes, right? Just put a law there that any sitting person on Congress, or any sitting person in politics, if they allow the GDP to go above like 3% or whatever the case may be, they can't be up for reelection. There's no these people that's in politics, man. There's no accountability to them. There's no like, oh, you got to give it up or whatever. They're in politics forever. Like Biden was in politics for 40 years. What did he ever do?
Right.
The best thing he did was the crime bill. He drafted it. He was the main proponent of it. Now at the time, the crime bill, was that something that was needed? Maybe, but the repercussions of it is ridiculous, and no apologies about it is ridiculous. So
Right.
I don't know. I can go on a whole tangent on politics, bro. I can go on a whole tangent. Whole tangent. I'm not, and I'm gonna try
Nah, we're
not to.
gonna get there.
I'm
We're
not.
gonna get
I'm gonna
there.
try.
We're gonna get there.
I'm gonna try not to. But we gonna change course real quick, guys. And we're gonna go to sports. We're gonna talk about week one. We're gonna talk about the pros and cons. We're gonna talk about Eagles and Cowboys. Who's gonna come out in the NFC East. And then we're gonna talk about who the biggest losers and who the biggest winners and losers of week one. Who do you think was the biggest losers? So first question: Eagles and Cowboys. Who's coming out NFC East?
Who's coming out the NFC East? The Eagles are. I mean, listen. All right, listen. Um, it's too soon to say. It's too early to tell. That's just the honest truth of it. Half the division didn't look the greatest. I mean, you got
Right.
one half of the division that is 0-1 in terms of the Commanders
And the Giants.
and the Giants. Giants look really bad, obviously. The Commanders didn't look too bad, but they didn't win, obviously. So did they win? I'm sorry. Am I tripping? I can't remember who the Commanders even played. They didn't play Arizona, did they?
Did it? I think they beat Arizona.
They might have beat Arizona.
Let me double check though, because
Yeah,
if
let
I'm not
me let me
mistaken,
look right
I
now.
think they won.
They might have won. Yeah, excuse me, Arizona. Excuse me. The Commanders actually won.
Yeah,
Needless to
yeah, they
say, they
won.
played Arizona though, so we're not even going to really hold that, up there as if it's a great a win is a win, obviously, but
Right.
neither here nor there. Um, Nobody has much expectations for the Commanders. And again, you got the Giants as the basement dwellers, being as though they lost 40-0 to the Cowboys. And then you got obviously Philadelphia, the Eagles just played their second game. So just took on Minnesota on Thursday night. Uh, Beat New England week 1 on the road. Then you got the Cowboys, like we already mentioned, 1-0. Played the Giants week 1, beat them 40-0. They have the Jets coming up this week, so y'all playing New York teams back to back, which is coincidental in
Crazy.
itself. I think if we're being objective based on 1 week of ball, the Cowboys obviously probably look the best right now. I don't think anybody was expecting 40-0. So when you
Yeah,
get a
I
40
guess
to
the
nothing game,
against the playoff team, against the former playoff team.
exactly, exactly. Which you can't take away from them. They made
No.
the playoffs last year. They won a game in the playoffs last year. They
Yeah.
beat Minnesota in the playoffs last year. So I think the Cowboys looked really good. That being said, though, I don't think the Giants gave up much resistance for whatever reason. They didn't put up much resistance. Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. He's going to be Daniel Jones. I don't think that they have much there skill position wise. Obviously, you got Saquon, you got Darren Waller, but outside of those two, I mean, I couldn't tell you who he has as pass catchers, who his receiving targets are.
Right.
And if you're dependent on Daniel Jones as a runner, as solely as a runner, then I don't think you're getting very far either.
No.
So then when you go over to the Cowboys, and when I think about the Cowboys, on the other side of the sideline, I don't know if I saw enough from the offense just yet. So that's where I need to see a little bit more. Um, I also want to see that defense get challenged as well because I just don't think that Daniel Jones is elite. I don't think that the weapons that the Giants have are elite. So I am interested to see the Cowboys against elite skill positions, at
Yeah.
least against elite competition. And I really want to see a lot from Dak. Like I want to see when Dak is put with his back against the wall. When the run game isn't working for you guys, and when you got to call on Dak to throw the ball. If he can be effective, if he can cut down on what was a high turnover number for him last year. And I don't think that the Giants gave y'all that test yet. So I don't think the Jets are either, if I'm being honest
Right.
with you. I don't think the Jets are going to test y'all either from that aspect. Although with the Jets having a really good defense, they could give y'all a scare. So
Yeah.
I don't want to minimize them. So then that brings us back to the Eagles. The Eagles made it to the Super Bowl last year. Had a great year, great season. 2 games into the season, still a lot to be desired. 2-0, so you can't. 2-0 is 2-0. You'll take that any day because it's better to win in these situations when you're not playing your best as opposed to lose.
Right.
Um, but a lot left to be desired from the Eagles right now. I don't know how we would fare in these matchups if we were playing, like I mentioned, for the Cowboys, more competition or better competition. Um, I think when we run the ball, we're very effective. Like we know that we can run the ball on pretty much anybody in the league.
Right.
One of the best offensive lines in the league, and without question, one of the most experienced offensive lines in the league. So, and with a diverse backfield too, you got a lot back there. Um, Passing game for whatever reason just hasn't looked the same from a year ago. Um, I don't know if that's because the Eagles went through a lot of coaching changes in the offseason. So they lost their offensive coordinator. Still the same head coach, but nonetheless, the guy calling the plays is the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. And that's a completely new guy with Brian Johnson. Um, so I think there's still a lot to be desired from the Eagles. Defensively, I think the Eagles have shown that they're going to be real stout up front. So they're going, they're going to give teams a hard time running the football or trying to run on the Eagles. Um, they'll be able to get some pressure on these opposing quarterbacks, which is always great. Um, I think the secondary is obviously probably the probably the weakest link for the Eagles, which is crazy because we got great corners. We get great cornerback play, but Slay is a little bit older. Bradbury is a little bit older. Not he's not old, but old. He's getting up there. Um, and then obviously Blankenship is an undrafted rookie. Sidney Brown is a young player. Terrell Edmonds is a free agent pickup. So I say all that to say that the Eagles defense also, like the offense, just leaves a lot to be desired. And so we'll see. Like I said, I think it's too early to say definitively. I think if we're just being objective based off of and a 1.5 games or 1.25 games, Cowboys probably look the best right now. But it's a long season. It's a long season. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, I agree with your sentiment, but I just want to add a couple of things. Um, I think you're right when you say we still got a long season, a lot of team left, a lot of games to cover. With the Eagles, I think the opponents they played, Patriots, Vikings, they're tough opponents. They're not walking the park opponents, but those are games they could have lost as well. Watching the
Yeah.
Eagles, and I watched the Eagles game on Thursday, and I'm watching it because I got Devonta Smith on my fantasy. I care less about the Eagles, but I got to watch. So I could see like first quarter, second quarter, the Eagles were not firing off of all cylinders. Like they were coming out a little slow. And if you're facing a team with great defense, that's not always going to be the best thing to happen to you. And I think with the Eagles, they have a great receiving core. Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and the guy's name Swift, whatever his name is, the new guy Swift,
Running back DeAndre Swift. Yep.
DeAndre Swift. So I think they have a lot. They have a lot of weapons they can utilize. I just think that they're coming off slow and the connection isn't there. Like the connection isn't. I don't know if whatever it's offseason they didn't practice as much. I don't know. Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, they're not communicating. I don't know what it is, but the connection ain't there. And if they don't fix it, it's gonna be hard for them to reconnect and be better than what they were this past game. And I think the Eagles defense, speaking on them, bro, you can't give up 320 yards passing. This just can't happen. Like you just can't do it. And I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like you guys did slow down Justin Jefferson. He didn't have a hell of a game. He didn't have over 100 yards. If I'm thinking correct, I don't think
He
he had
did
over.
this past game.
Oh, he did have over 100 yards.
Last year he did. Last year when we played him, he didn't. This year I think he had like 11 for 159.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Well,
he
I
went on,
misspoke.
he had a pretty good game.
So I think with the defense, like you already touched on, the secondary is probably the problem. Secondary is not as effective as the front four or and even the linebackers. Like that's your core. That core seven right there. That core seven is a problem. But the back four,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there. But when you play those elite teams, and Vikings is considered one of them, but when you play another team like 49ers, when you play us, you give us a lot of space, give us a lot of room, it's going to be problems. So I think y'all need to tighten that up, so that way those teams don't be throwing over 300 yards. You can get the pressure on the quarterback. I just think the defense got to tighten up a little bit more with the Eagles, and I think with the Cowboys, we play the Jets, they just have to repeat what they did last week. Like if the Cowboys defense, if this is going to be a defensive team this year where you don't have to rely on the quarterback that much, your defense is going to do all majority of the work, then Dak has to make the plays when they need to be made. As simple as that. I'm not looking for Dak to do the most amazing, greatest performance. Throwing over 200 yards, 250 at the most, I'm cool with. But the defense also holding the team under 20 points, that's perfect. You can't ask for no other better play. You hold a team that averages about 35, 40 points a game, you hold them under 20, then the offense has to step up and make plays. That's literally how it has to go. So I think a repeat of last week into this week, I think the Cowboys should have an issue. I think the defense just keep doing what they're doing. The offense just has to put a little bit more out there, rely a little bit more on Tony Pollard, do a lot more read options, play actions, and I think they're not going to have an issue. But to say who's going to be top NFC East, like you said, it's too early to tell. And I think probably half. I want to say in the next 5-7 game, then we can probably be more accurate as to see who's gonna win that. But right now it's just too early because both teams are doing pretty well for their in their own respective parts. So I just think that we just gotta wait and see. Um, all right,
Word.
so let's talk about who was the biggest winners and who was the biggest losers in week one. Who was the biggest winners? Who was the guys that blew you away week one?
Um, I'll probably start with the Lions. I like the Lions and what they did week one against the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Granted, the Chiefs, without their all pros, so take nothing away from that, because playing without Travis Kelsey, playing without Chris Jones is it's no small feat. With that being said, though, a win is a win, man. A
Yeah,
win is a win, and for the Lions to go to Arrowhead and get that win in Kansas City, it's a big
yeah,
deal for them.
yep,
I think a lot of people were wondering why the NFL put Detroit as the opening game for the Chiefs to hang their banners up. And I think they went into Arrowhead and showed why. I think they came out and they met the challenge. Um, they took on the defending champions and that momentum in that building. Jared Goff played really well. Amon-Ra St. Brown looked really good again. Their young dude, Jameer Gibbs, running back for them, played really well, and their defense looked good. I think they had an answer for Mahomes and those dudes all day, and so I think that was a great win for them to start the season, build some momentum for them to build off of going into their next game this week.
right. I agree with you. I think like you said, the Lions, nobody usually when it's a they usually do like the Super Bowl rematch. It's usually the Super Bowl champs and the runner ups who lost. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Chiefs and Eagles. That's what I was hoping for because I think if y'all would have beat them, y'all would have had a
Yeah,
lot of confidence, and then I don't think you would have these issues that you're going into now. But needless to say, I think everybody was shot with the Lions. They did what they came to do. They won the game. And like you said, a win is a win. Irregardless of the Chiefs not having this, blah blah blah. Who cares about that? A W is a W. The win loss total is not going to say they won because of X, Y, and Z. It's going to say 1-0.
mm,
So I agree with you that. I think next on the list is going to be the Cowboys. The Cowboys' biggest win is the defense showed out against the Giants. I mean, the defense held them to 0 points, a goose egg, which hasn't been done in a long time for a shutout. And they capitalized on turnovers. Michael Parsons had a hell of a game. The rookie Dorian Armstrong had a hell of a game. DeMarcus Lawrence had a hell of a game. I think that front four they were dominating. They stopped a lot of things, and with the addition of Stephen Gilmore, Trevon Diggs, the secondary is going to be unmatched now, right and left side. So I think that showcase of dominance on a playoff team says a lot. And irregardless of what people say, it's the Giants. I mean, come on now, like it's the Giants. Okay, we get it, but they won a playoff game last year. They're decent opponents. They're not the worst of the worst. Not the worst. Next team, the Jets. Like we talked
yeah,
about
we got
earlier.
the Jets as a winner. Um, it's not going to feel like a win, obviously. So take it with a grain of salt. It's week
Right.
one. Um, the Jets lost their starting quarterback, and I can't be undersold. Aaron Rodgers is done for the year. In spite of that, though, the Jets still were able to force turnovers on Josh Allen, only giving up 16 points to one of the favorites in the AFC, a guy in Josh Allen who's always favored for MVP considerations. So to force four turnovers, go in there and get that win. I believe the game was in New York, but either way, nonetheless, against a division team in Buffalo, who you're going to play again later this season, to to get that kind of a win, given those circumstances, is a big W for them. It's a big win for them for week one, and hopefully give them some momentum going into this game against the Cowboys. Um, they're going to be underdogs in that game against the Cowboys. But either way, um, you shouldn't rule the Jets out just yet. They still got a very good defense, a good head coach in Robert Saleh, a lot of weapons around Zach for him to thrive, and so it's just going to be on him, to step up to the challenge. But based off of Week 1, there is some momentum to build off of for sure.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We like we discussed earlier. Trust in Zack Wilson, allow him to develop, and he's going to lead y'all to victory. And I think he came in week 1. He seen what happened. Aaron Rodgers injured. I got to step up, and he did that. He made the key plays when he made the key plays. He looked at his check downs when he looked at his check downs, and he delivered. He delivered the ball when he needed to be delivered. Um, and I think if they can continue it, you know, they're going to be formidable opponents, but it just depends on how good he can be and how good he wants to be. Um, so going into the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield back to life against, and he played and they played the Vikings though, bro. Like that's the part
Yeah,
that's crazy to me. The Vikings now are 0-2 because they lost to y'all.
yeah.
So it's to me, it's like, my lord, like the Buccaneers, are they the team that's gonna be formidable? Is it looking that
Yeah, I
way?
mean, I like what they did. I like what they did in Week 1. Like you said, Baker back to life, man. A lot of people doubted Baker. Still don't have a lot of high expectation for the Buccaneers. But like you said, they played a playoff team in Minnesota. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in Minnesota now, 0-2,
Yeah.
if they can get things back on track. But for Tampa Bay, it's a great start to the season to get that W and a hard fought game at the same time. It wasn't an easy game. 20-17 comes down to the wire here. I think it's just a good confidence builder for those dudes down in Tampa. Um, they got a game coming up this Sunday, but either way, for Baker and those guys to go out there and get that W, when not a lot of people had high expectations for them. I think in that division, specifically the NFC South, they definitely have some life there.
Right.
Um, it's not much going on in that division, so Tampa Bay can have these sort of games where their defense kind of takes over and forces some turnovers. Baker cuts down on the mistakes, keeps the mistakes numbers low to where, he's not putting his team in a bad position. I like Tampa Bay. I like what they got going on down there, and I could see them coming out the South, or I could at least see them competing in that division throughout the season for sure, coming down to the wire of who's going to win that division.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, week 1 they definitely capitalized, and we'll see moving forward if they can continue with Baker Mayfield, if he can continue that hot streak. So the
We'll
losers,
see.
Bills lost to the Jets. When a quarterback has
Step
to
up.
throw over 40 times and only completes 29 passes, that's never a good game. He threw 3 interceptions
Nah.
for only 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs showed out. He had over 100 yards, but those are 100 meaningless yards because they lost the game. To the Jets, coming from a team that was top in the league last year, top defense, top offense. Now coming into the league, losing to a team that was not even, after Aaron Rodgers lost, nobody thought they were going to win. So I think they didn't even capitalize. They didn't even capitalize on the losing of Aaron Rodgers. So I think they take a big L because of the 3 interceptions, the lack of productive offensive yards, and just not being able to pull it together.
Definitely. Buffalo, you gotta do better. Next one we got here for losers is the Giants.
Mm.
Giants. If Buffalo has to do better, the Giants got to do better than better because 40-0 in opening game is just not. It's not going to get it done. The Giants were a playoff team last year, and they re-signed their starting quarterback. So you would think that they have some sort of momentum from last season to build off of to try to, get back to where they got to last year and, exceed where they got last year. I don't know how much better they got in the off season though. I think they still have a lot left to be desired. I don't think that defense is very good. I don't think Daniel Jones is very good. And I think they're going to be in that loser column a lot this season. Um, yeah, Giants, big losers.
All right, Seahawks. Seahawks. That was a depressing loss. Rams came out, and Rams, they ain't who we thought they were. They came out firing. Matthew Stafford threw over 300 passing yards with no touchdowns. Their defense was the game. Their defense held them together. Their defense did what they had to do. They sacked Geno Smith over 2 times. Geno was only able to complete 16 passes, 26 attempts, 112 yards passing. That's atrocious. That's little league stats.
Terrible.
So I think Seattle with Geno Smith, is this someone they're going to be able to rely on? Is this the effective? Is this going to be where they say, we should have kept Russ, or Geno is our guy? Can he replicate some of the games he did last year? This week against the Rams, who nobody thought was going to come out the way they did, because they were not good last year. So for them to come out and do what they had to do against a subpar Seattle, it's pretty decent. But they take the L this week because of the atrocious play of Geno Smith and his ability to love getting sacked. So I think he's one of those guys. Aaron Donald was having lunch, and he was lunch sacking him all game. So I think they got to do better. He didn't throw any picks. I will give him a plus on that. Geno Smith didn't throw any interceptions. He threw a touchdown, but 13 points against the Rams is just not going to cut it.
All right. Yeah, do better, Seahawks. And this last one, in terms of losers that we got here, is going to be the Broncos. There was a lot to be said about the Broncos being a completely different team from last year. Hired Sean Payton, fresh out the Fox Studios. Was supposed to turn Russ around. Was supposed to turn his team around. Was supposed to get them on the right track. Unfortunately, you start 0-1 this season. Same old things where you're losing in one-score games, close possession games. You're facing a guy in Jimmy Garoppolo with a known injury history, and you still allow him to go out here and get the W against you. Russ didn't look like any different. He didn't look like old Russ. He still looked like the guy from last year who couldn't get it done. So yeah, Broncos, you definitely gotta do better. And I understand they got some injuries here. They definitely are hurting at some skill positions. And I don't think Russ played terribly, obviously. He threw 2 touchdown passes, but 27 to 34 for only 144 yards. 177 yards. It's not. Where was it all checkdowns? I just don't understand what's happening there to have 27 completions and 177 yards.
It was a lot of dinking and dunking. That's all. That's literally all I can say. A lot of dinking and dunking.
Yeah, literally. A 5-yard average. There's a lot to be left desired there. And again, listen, the Broncos, they have a lot of injuries in terms of their skill positions. I know Tim Patrick is out for the year. They're trying to get Jerry Jeudy back. So it's that they're working through this. But when you got a new head coach who's supposed to be turning things around for you guys, who talks a lot in the media, done a lot this offseason in terms of bashing the previous regime, the last thing you want to do is start the season with a 1-point loss to the Raiders. It's especially at home. Those are games that you want to win. Those are games that when you bring in a new head coach, you expect him to be the difference in those games. And Sean Payton, for week 1 anyway, was not the difference. It kind of looked like the exact same thing. So Broncos, big losers, do better.
And we could say, like, the Denver fans, man, there's another Colorado team that you can go check out. The Buffalo Prime,
Yeah.
They're the only winners around that area. Go check them out, because I don't know if I have any faith in this Broncos team. I'm keeping 100,000, because I think even with the addition of Sean Payton, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. Now, the Broncos are gonna have to sit down and really think: did we come out on top with this contract? Did we pick the right guy? Because he just does not look. he doesn't look comfortable in Broncos. He doesn't even look comfortable wearing that uniform. So I think, does that take away from Russell Wilson's greatness? No. But he's looking more and more like a Cam Newton. He's looking more and more like Cam Newton. Had a great career with one team, goes to another team, becomes a failed experiment. So, I mean, he's not making black quarterbacks look good. I will say that.
Do you think that'll affect his Hall of Fame resume? Do you think it doesn't have any impact on him moving forward, trying to
I
get into the
mean,
Hall?
if we compare like Tom Brady to Russell Wilson, like he was with a team for years, won multiple championships, goes to another team, does amazing, wins another championship with them. I mean, if you're a great quarterback, like there's only a couple examples of these guys. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. If you're a great quarterback, you should be a great quarterback everywhere you go, not just a great quarterback on one team. If you're that guy,
Right.
if you're that guy that they pay the money for, they want to see you're the best of the best, then you should be great on another team. It shouldn't be just I'm only great here. Like we've seen
Right.
it. We've seen it with Matthew Stafford. He was with the Lions for a long time. He was I want to say an above average because he can get you 4,000, 5,000 yards. Like he wasn't trash when it came to getting yards. They just never could get there because the overall team was just never good. But then he goes to the Rams and he wins the Super Bowl. So he was great with the Rams because they had a package and he was able to facilitate with that package. So you come to the Broncos, you expect him to be good there, but come on, bro. 27 passes, 177 yards, bro. Like, what are you doing? What are you throwing? Fucking every time you throwing to slant routes and fucking out routes. Who are you throwing it to, bro?
Bro, I think he was throwing it behind the line of scrimmage for a lot of
Bro,
those passes.
like it doesn't make sense to me, and I think I mean I'll give him credit for not throwing any interceptions. I'll give him credit for that,
Right.
but he still got sacked twice. That counts up, and then to lose the game by one freaking point. Like, come on, bro. The game came down to a damn fucking field goal at that point. Excuse my language, but it came down to a field goal. So I think that it's just disappointing, man. Especially if you're Sean Payton, you're highly disappointed in your team, and it's not gonna. I bet you this didn't make for a good discussion going into the locker room at the end of the game.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
All right, so
We'll see though. We'll see.
yeah, we definitely will see. Hopefully, week 2 is a little bit different than what it is now. But needless to say, we're gonna change course again, guys. We're gonna get on a topic that's a little bit more engaged and gonna kind of hit a little bit different. But we're talking about relationships, right? So
Yes, sir.
we're gonna talk about give you our perspectives on relationships. How do you choose somebody?
I do want to start by congratulating our brother.
Oh yeah,
Joe
congratulations,
Kennedy.
yeah. Yes.
Tied the
So
knot this past weekend.
yes,
Got to experience that as groomsmen for our brother.
Yes.
Got to take our significant others down, experience their union being created. So we definitely want to make sure that we can congratulate the Kennedys. Salute to the Kennedys.
Kennedy
for inviting us, having us a part of their wedding. Man, it was a beautiful ceremony. Beautiful embracing of love and cherishing of love, and dope to see. And it kind of started us on this topic here in terms of wanting to talk about relationships, the course of relationships, what you look for in a significant other, how you get to the point of knowing that marriage is the next step for you, if marriage is that next step for you, and all of the above.
Yeah, and I think when I see such a strong family bond, I can see like this couple is gonna last a long time. They just got to put the work in. Like I told them, God comes first. If you're part of a religious affiliation, like me, I'm Christian, so I think you have to have that religion at the forefront, right? You have to have it. It's something that's gonna bound you guys. You make a commitment in front of God, saying that you got to be a union. You got to have it at the forefront, and everybody got to work on that. Me and my wife got to work on that. I think you have to have that essentially, right? You got to be willing to compromise. Compromising is something that is going to be new to you because you're coming from a place of you under your mother. You do what you want. You've been single, but now you're married. So compromising is going to be something that has to come together. Communication is key. Some people don't know how to talk to each other. You know, you're not maybe your spouse is not good at confronting you on certain things. Maybe you're not good at confronting your spouse. You have to learn how to do that. And the last thing is transparency. You got to be honest. Like honesty, especially like sometimes women may say like I want honesty. I want you to be honest, but you got to really know how to say that honesty, right? You got to know how to put it in
Right.
terms that is not too crazy, but also not something that's going to be offensive, right? So, for example, I always use this
Right.
example when it comes to like, let's say your lady is, you want her to go to the gym with you more. You think she's like gaining a little bit of two weight. You don't go to her and say, "Damn, babe, you're getting fat." Like that's
Hell
just
no.
not that's just not. You just say, "Hey, babe, I signed us up for 2 classes at the gym. Let's go. Let's go knock it out. You can do it. I believe in you, babe. Like, let's go knock it." And then you see, oh my gosh, she's sweating. She's looking good. Blah blah blah. So it builds the relationship more than you're doing an activity together. So I think that the Kennedys, they're gonna be a couple that live together, love together, and build together. They just have to continue to be that union because it's not two, it's one now. So as long as they keep that together,
100%.
bro, they're not gonna have no issues.
Yeah, and it salute to the Kennedys, obviously. I love y'all. Love to both of you guys, Joe and Talia. Um, I it did just have me thinking about, when marriage is the right step, or when you know that you found that partner for you. Um, I didn't get a chance to ask Joe of particularly when he knew Talia was, his soulmate. Um, Me going through my relationship and everything that I have going on, I'd like to think that I found my person. And so the next step is just building on a healthy bond, making sure that things are you know communicated, like you mentioned, in a way where my partner can digest it, where it's not taken offensively, to where we can just have open dialogue
Yeah,
and be open and be honest, and have that space to just be ourselves with each other. For you
yeah.
personally, when do you feel like, as a husband or as a man, that your partner, your spouse, was your soulmate, and that you knew that this was the person that you wanted to be with?
I knew when I looked around and nothing else gave me any type of happiness. No other person could make me as happy. No other person could fulfill me the way she fulfilled me. Right? Even now, we've been married 5 years, right? We've been together since 2013 and a little bit at 2011, but we kind of so we've been together for a long time. So even now, like she still get me bricked up. Like there's no loss in that. So it's those little things and it's like we have kids now. We got 2 beautiful kids, and sometimes that can take a toll, like a big toll on relationships. That's why I tell people all the time, please do as much as you can now before the kids come, because a lot of the time you thought you were gonna have is gonna be gone. It's not even gonna be a thing anymore. Like you think you might be able to do a quickie, it's done, it's ended, no more.
Hmm.
So I think with me, how I knew Judea was my soulmate was just we were together, and I kind of knew I didn't want any other man to have her, and then I didn't want to be with anybody else. So I kind of knew, like right then and there, like what am I waiting for? Why would I want to pass up this beautiful angel that I want to call my wife to any other man? That to me it didn't make sense. So I made a logical and a decision with my heart that I'm gonna spend this money on this ring. I'm gonna commit to you, only you, and I'm gonna love and cherish you. And I made that commitment in front of all my friends and family. So I think that to me was a beautiful thing. We got married in the church, and we did our vows in front of God. And I think God willing, we continue to be together forever, and we continue to work on
Yeah.
what we need to work on. That's just simple as that. But it's steps you take, man. Like when you want to know somebody's your one, you got to have conversations. Like you got to know, like, all right, well, what are your thoughts on having children? Boom. They got to know where they're at. What's your thoughts on religion? If you care about that, okay. I'm this, I'm
Right.
that. What's your thoughts on disciplining children? Do you care about where we live right now? Would you want to move somewhere else? How are you about the school system? How are you on politics? What are your thoughts on that? So all these things you got to ask these questions for your mate because they have to somewhat align with you. Like when people say like opposites attract, like okay, that's okay in a certain aspect, but at the end of the day, like, do you want someone that's always gonna be opposing to you every time? Like,
Right.
is
You
that
want
something
something
you
that you
want?
got stuff in
Yeah,
common
you
with.
want someone you and it comes like that. Like mannerisms I do, Judea might do. Mannerisms Judea do, I might do. It's just we've been together so long. It's just it is what it is. And certain things that she
Yeah.
likes, I like now, and certain things that I like, she likes now. Like she never watched anime before. I'm a big anime guy. She never used to watch it. Now she loves anime. So that's something I put her on. I never liked House, the show House. You ever seen House? Bro,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite shows. She put me on to that. You know what I mean? Certain things like
Yeah.
that where it's like, you know, when you have someone like that, your personality changes a little bit. You're not always gonna be that same guy you were. I'm not the same Matthew Lamite I was 10 years ago. This is impossible. I can't be that guy. This is not who I am.
100%.
So I think a lot of things with that, you got to find someone that's going to elevate you and be with you during the dark times, and also be with you when the times are good. You know, see if that person is gonna run and cut tail when shit start to get bad, or they're gonna be like, "Yo, I'm here for you." And I think speaking on you and your relationship, I think you have somebody that is sweet, caring, kind, personable. Doesn't look like a type of person that's gonna want to embarrass you. Oh, wants to keep things in house, which is great. Doesn't want to put your business out there, which is amazing. And I think you have to find that connection between y'all so y'all can keep that strong bond together so no one can come, no interference can come and break it. So I think once y'all find that, y'all gonna be straight. Y'all do business together. So I think y'all already doing most things couples won't even ever do. So I think you guys have that solid foundation. You just got to continue to build on that. Like you can't expect if you build a brick house and you just leave it there unattended to for years and you never put any maintenance to it, it's gonna still be that brick house you built once before. You know what I mean? You got to continue to build
Right.
it. You got to continue to repair it. You got to continue to fix it. Same thing with a relationship, bro. I can't just automatically assume like, oh, Judea's gonna love me. I'm gonna just be who I am, and you know she's never gonna leave me. Fuck, no, what? No, bro. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta look good. I gotta get a haircut. I gotta say poetry to her. I gotta say sweet things. I gotta show her that I love and care. Maybe I buy flowers. There's all these things you have to do as a man to continue to have that relationship because the way social media is set up, the way the devil is set up, the way temptation is set up, bro, there's so many things that can get you to a point of I want to go do stupid stuff. And it's like, why? Why even do that? And it's a lot of things that you gotta learn as you become in that relationship with one somebody. Like, all right, I gotta be steadfast. I gotta trust in my I tell people all the time, I'm like, yo, go take a cold shower, go do some push-ups, go beat off. Like there's things you can do to kind of circumvent you because as men, we have needs, right? Every
Yeah.
man has a need, so you gotta circumvent that need. You gotta find a type of catalyst to stop you from thinking those type of thoughts.
No, 100%, man. And it's never going to be, I don't think it was meant to be easy, although it's not supposed to be
Hell
hard.
no.
It's not supposed to feel like like you're doing, manual labor or anything like that, but
Yeah,
it's definitely not going to come easy. It's definitely not going to be something that, you can just put down and expect that, it's not like like one of those fake plants that you buy from the store where you just put it in the window and it just looks good. You still got to water it. You still got to
yeah,
make sure that it's getting the
yeah,
sunlight. That it's that you making sure that it's healthy and that it's fed and that it's nourished and that it's well taken care of. And so it's all about growth. It's all about every single day learning a person that you deal with, especially when you spend so much time with a person, you shouldn't just be spending the time with them but not getting to know them. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you want to get to know them fully so that you do know how to talk to them, so that when you know that it's a subject that you might have to broach with a little bit more care or a little bit more, you know, just overall warmth or whatever, that that you have that knowledge, that you have that sort of wherewithal of how to deal with your partner. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And when you choose a partner, you got to commit to that. You can't be so selfish that you're so wrapped up in yourself that you can't acknowledge the fact that, I might have areas that I need to grow in to be the best partner that I need to be. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
it is growth. It is, constantly evolving, constantly learning, and constantly, implementing new things, making sure that you're staying on top of yourself, being the best version of yourself that you can be in order to be the best version that you can be
Yeah,
for that other person. That's a lot of it too. Um, so yeah, man, it's just constantly you know trying to step up and be the best man you can be. Because as long as you're being the best man that you can be, ultimately you'll be able to be that best version of yourself and show up in those ways for your significant other. And that's how you build a long lasting thing. And I think
yeah,
anyway, from my own little vantage point here is, just constantly trying to make sure that you're on point, constantly making sure that you're doing things that you would even maybe do, when other people aren't necessarily looking. You got to make sure that when nobody's looking at you, still holding up that
yeah,
standard of just being the best man possible.
yeah,
Um, and then you see how she appreciates it, you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
in being the best man that you can be, you start to realize that brings out the best woman in her, you know what I mean? Like she can get to be her true authentic self
right.
and come to you as the man to figure out, hey, I might need you here, babe, or I might need this from you, babe. And it's just a constant, type of like friendly tug of war of just figuring out the balance in that relationship to make sure that everybody is feeling fulfilled. So it's a lot to it, man. It's constantly always trying to show up, constantly always trying to show up and be your best self. But it's a journey for sure,
Yeah,
man.
it's a journey, and a lot of people don't know what it takes to fulfill that journey. So, I'm hopefully this conversation can kind of allow them to kind of see that marriage isn't easy. And like you said, when you talked about you don't want it to be easy, you don't want it to be hard, but everything in life that you ever wanted was never easy.
Mm-mm.
Everything you wanted in life was never easy. So marriage shouldn't be something that's easy. It's gonna be a challenge. And it's gonna be hard. It's not gonna be a walk in the park. It's not gonna be a cakewalk. It's not gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be the same every day. It's not. You know, you got to think, if you're gonna be living with this person, you're gonna be sharing your life with this person. People get annoyed with people fast, man. Like I know me, I can be very quick sometimes. Like very like I don't know what is wrong with
Bruh.
me, but
Nah, you
like
and me both.
yeah, like I can just be, and I won't even be mad. I won't even be like I can just say something like that's quick and cutthroat, but I'll just respond. Like I'll just respond. Like the other day, I don't know what I said, but it was something quick and hurtful. And oh, matter of fact, my wife had asked me, oh, you got done in the shower real quick. I said, would you want me to go? You want me to go back up there and take another shower? You want me to go in there to be? You want me to go in there and take a longer one? Because I came downstairs to get dressed, and then she looked at me and she was like what's up with you? What's that? But in that moment, I should have reflected and said, hey, I didn't mean to be quick with you like that. I took a quick shower just so I can get back to being with you. Boom. That could have just been a better way to take it. But at that moment in time, your mind is automatic. Like I'm gonna say that, and then it's just like it's already out of your mouth. It's like I can't take it back now.
Yeah.
So that quick
What's done
remark
is
shit.
done.
That quick remark stuff, man. It gets you in hot water fast, and you don't even think about it. And then or sometimes like it'll be things like how I talk, like because I can talk, and sometimes when I'm yelling, I don't think I'm yelling. I yell because I'm hard of hearing in one ear. So for me, I have to yell. So sometimes I'll yell and it'll be like, you're yelling. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm talking to you regularly. And to some people, it might be like I'm yelling, and I don't mean to do that. It's just my hearing is not the best. So it's a lot of things. It's the little things that you got to work on and be better right now. Like even right now, as we're recording this podcast, she's upstairs watching the kids, and I already know they're giving her a run for the money. So when I come up there, I gotta be, hey baby, you need anything? You want me to grab you anything? You want this? You want that? Because I know if I say anything sharp or quick, it's not gonna be good for me. So it's a learning, bro. It's learning. Every day is a learning experience.
Bro,
Every day is a learning
it's
experience, bro.
literally you over there, you stepping up. I'm over here about to do the same thing, man. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you have that person you just want to be, you just want to make sure that that person is taken care of. And hopefully, with brother Joe, with Talia, that's something that they carry with them, everywhere they go, with everything they
Oh yeah.
do is just to take care of one another. We made sure to have that conversation with her pop to let him know
Oh yeah,
that,
yeah,
we was gonna make sure that we held our brother accountable,
yep,
that we was made sure that, we was on him if we ever saw any areas where we needed to be, because
yeah,
that's a part of being adults and part of being brothers to one another
yeah,
is making sure that if you see your brother slip that you try and pull him up, man. And that
yeah.
it's a collective effort because
And
at, at no point is any of us going through any of this by
yeah,
ourselves. You know what I mean? At any point, he can call me or I can call him. Or you
yeah,
can call Joe, I can
right,
call you, vice versa, all of that. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where they say it takes a village to raise a child, but I don't think that they realize that you got to keep that village,
yeah,
in your adulthood as well. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different village sometimes, but you still got to lean on that village. And, I think that's what our role
yeah,
is just to make sure that, we there for each other every time
right.
we need each other.
Absolutely, bro. Brotherhood is very important, and even at men, like men need to be with men. Like now, not on no gay shit, but I'm saying like men need to have a brotherhood because there's certain things we
For
got to
sure.
talk about. We might not be able to talk to our spouses about, right? Like if I'm down bad, I'm not gonna go and tell my wife about it because then she's gonna be a worry, and all that. Like that's not something I would ever do. I come to my brothers and be like, "Yo, I'm going through this, that, and the third. What you think I should do?" Blah blah blah. Because you need that. You need somebody to open up to. You need that, and you need to confide into one another. And like you said, accountability is big. That's why I love our group because we always hold each other accountable, irregardless of what's going on. Everybody is able to hold another person accountable, irregardless of what that person is going to say. Everybody's having heated conversations with one another because accountability is something big. Like, yo, bro, you're not supposed to be doing that. Why are you doing that? You're not supposed to be doing that. You're not supposed to be smoking cigarettes. Why are you smoking cigarettes? You know what I mean? And that's one thing. Like, we care for one another so much. Our love for one another as brothers is so deep that it don't matter what anybody else is going on. We'll always pick up the phone for one another, and I love that about our group because it's just it's crazy, bro. We've been friends over 10 plus years. Some of us been friends 20 years. It's a lot of love lost that's been taking place, but everybody's always there for everybody.
No doubt, for sure. And that's, I think everybody has had to get to that point, on their own. But I think that, as a group, for sure, we do what we need to do for one another to make sure that we there for each other. And that's,
Right,
sometimes that's all you can ask for is just to be, because a lot of people don't even get to experience that. You know what I mean?
right,
Sometimes life hits you so fast where you just got so much going on. Sometimes it's hard to just build them type of genuine,
right.
them genuine relationships. But for us, as men, as black men especially, who, got to deal with so much outside when we walk
Yeah,
outside of our
yep,
door, to be able to lean on another black man who's going through similar, or may understand it the same way I understand it. It's important. It's even just good imagery for other people to be able to see black men being able to, hold a bond and build on a bond with one another, um to always be there for one another, whether it's a wedding, whether it's none of us have been divorced, but a breakup,
yeah. Kid's birthday party.
kids, you know what I'm saying, getting shot, somebody,
Yeah,
having a death in their family, whatever the situation may be, to be able to, hit your brother and say, yo, I got this going on, or yo, I got that going on. It's one of those things that, I don't think people necessarily understand it, but you definitely have to be able, when you have it, you got to be able to appreciate it for
right.
sure. You know what I mean? And I think that's the unique space that we put ourselves in for sure. Hopefully other people are able to curate that for themselves and, find that in their friendships, in their relationships, in their family life, all around, just a level of support to where you don't feel like you necessarily are begging somebody to
Right.
understand you or be there for you, but it's just genuine, it's just real authentic, and it's real, real, you know what I'm saying? So I know for me, it was something that I desperately probably needed at a point, and that when I, once I understood it and appreciated it, I could express that a little bit more. So yeah, nah, it's definitely been dope for me and for all of us, to be able to lean on one another. Yeah.
All right, good. Any closing thoughts, bro?
Um, no, this was the first episode. It was a good first episode. We're gonna come with some more stuff soon. Definitely going to stay on top of the season, so we'll probably be back probably sometime next week. We'll try and figure out the next recording schedule to get back on here. Um, we're going to dive into some more topics. Definitely want to come with some more politics stuff. So this was a good intro for the people to get to see just a little foundation of where we're coming from. You know, the stuff that we're going to be discussing. So definitely stay tuned to us. Check us out on Instagram. Who asked y'all to? Literally spelled plain out. Who asked y'all to? Stay locked into us. You know, we're gonna have a lot of stuff coming soon. So definitely tap into the social media. Follow us at Chris Porterr M.Dot Lem 18. I mean, if you want to shout your grandma in case I messed it up, you know what I mean?
No,
You know
it's
what I mean?
So you follow me on IG. I was just looking at it right now. It's gonna be M period dot DOT Lem LEM 18 Instagram. So we love y'all. Appreciate y'all for listening. We're coming back for more heat. Who asked y'all to podcast? Peace out.